space. Well, not really. Take two. Here, in the Mitten State. Welcome to Code 47, bringing you all things Star Trek. Spanning the quadrants, the best thing since the neutral zone.
Oh, we're back again. You're listening to the Code 47 podcast on the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. I am Charlie Carden, your Trek Lord of West Michigan, captain of the USS Grand Petoskey fan club chapter of Starfleet, the International Star Trek fan club, coming to you with episode 30 of our wonderful program. But before I do that, want to toss it on over to the chief engineer of the USS Grand Petoskey, my brother to the northwest-ish, over there in the frozen wasteland that is Minnesota. Why don't you engineer yourself up an introduction, Rich?
I don't really have anything as Apollo Creed-ish as you do, but yeah, hey, everybody, how's it going?
Buddy. Yes. Rich,
buddy.
Rich, of course, is one of my regular co-hosts. The other one is Erin, who is currently on sabbatical to the Delta Quadrant, so she will be off for a few episodes, but I believe she and I are going to be back sometime next month to talk about the first season of Star Trek Discovery. But in the meanwhile, over the next three episodes, you'll be treated to us talking about this magnum opus that we're about to discuss, its sequel, and then in between that, it will be Rich, myself, and Rich's cohort from the Great Disturbances podcast, Paul, talking about Star Trek VI in our regular progression of talking about the movies. So, but without further ado, let's jump into another summary of a comic book story. So today we're going to be talking about the Spectrum War. So, Rich, read us a little bit of a treatise of what the Spectrum War was all about.
Okay. Well, the synopsis doesn't really do it any justice. It just tells us that The Spectrum War is a 6-part comics miniseries published jointly by IDW Publishing and DC Comics starting in July 2015. It was written by Mike Johnson with art by Angel Hernandez. The series is a crossover between Star Trek, the original series, and DC's Green Lantern series. And it basically, in an alternate DC universe, the remainders of the Lantern Corps find their way to the Kelvin timeline,
right? And
random hijinks ensue.
Right. So actually, this not truly Star Trek the original series because it's the Kelvin timeline, so it has it bears, as you and I have. Now, you and I, neither one of us is really a fan of the Kelvin timeline. Am I accurate in saying that?
Yeah, you're accurate. Yep.
I have, and I've talked about this at length, not only on, Secret Friends Unite, our main podcast, for the last 7 years. And then also, on this show quite frequently, that I have a real love-hate thing with the Kelvin timeline. The Kelvin timeline, for anyone who's uninitiated, which I'm sure wouldn't necessarily be anyone listening here, is that in 2009, Star Trek returned to the big screen in a film simply called Star Trek, directed by J.J. Abrams, by which he used events taking place in the future of where we left everything off with Star Trek Nemesis, by spot of older Spock traveling into the past after trying to stop an ecological disaster in the Romulan Empire. He gets flung into the past along with the villainous Romulan Nero, and they create an alternate timeline, and therefore by that all the characters that we know from the original, series, Kirk, Spock, McCoy, Uhura, et cetera, are obviously recast and played by different actors, and they have different backstories and different stuff happens. It always annoyed the shit out of me because, again, while certainly you can change, timelines can change, like, my dad died, so I was not raised with a dad, my life turned out different, which was the story with Captain Kirk. You really can't change the dates and the ages of the characters. That's what always, or the fact that they're talking about the Romulans, but nobody's ever seen a Romulan. So by that point, because it wasn't until several years later in the original series when anyone ever saw a Romulan for the first time. So, it played a little fast and loose with the rules. It tried to make Star Trek more Star Wars, which really does not work. I'm sure we could it was funny. I was talking with Mark Carabin, who is my co-host on the Holocron Chronicles, which Rich, you've joined us on that. I would love to dedicate a future episode. We do that show twice a month. One of the shows is a topic of discussion, which is Rich. That's when you joined us. Yeah. I would love to talk about why there's so much of a rub between people saying, well, you either like Star Wars or you like Star Trek, but you can't like both. Yeah, I want to do an episode about why that is a thing, because again, very different kind of storytelling, absolutely different angles. Both series have the word star in it. So and it has to do with space. So anyway, I know we're way the hell off topic, but anyway, Rich, your familiarity with things related to superhero comics, Green Lantern in particular, where do you stand with that?
Oh boy, Green Lantern, I have read, I want to say 6 issues of a Green Lantern series at any point in my life. I've tried it. What's that?
That's not so far off kind of where I'm at, but I have an interest in doing more. So this was 6 issues, so this was 6 right here, but I've read a few. That is Todd Oxtra, our other secret friend. That is his favorite DC superhero, and probably his overall favorite. I know when it comes on the Marvel side, he loves Thor and he loves Wolverine, but I know when it comes to DC, he is a Green Lantern guy. He says, it's funny with his little mid-Michigan accent, he says Green Lantern, and I give him no end of shit about that, because that is not a way that I've heard anyone else ever pronounce that word in my life. But yeah, I have recently kind of stepped into really digging on things related to Green Lantern, which was my interest in rereading this, because I think I read this 2 or 3 years ago when it popped up on Comixology Unlimited, which is how you and I were able to read it. Because I love something I really dig about DC Comics is they have a lot of space-related stuff, alien-related stuff. You've got the Green Lantern Corps, the space cops. You've got Superman, who's the last survivor of an alien planet, and you've got just all this different stuff going on. And I really dig that, because I'm a space kind of guy. I love Star Trek. I love Star Wars, and so that really spoke to me. But right from the jump, I love the prospect. I mean, obviously, it's just to illuminate a little bit more. But in an alternate DC universe, the Last Guardian, Ganthet, exercises his power to take one of the each remaining power rings into another universe to escape Necron, the embodiment of death, seen in the Blackest Night series, which is one I kind of have skimmed in the past. It's a DC comic, who has destroyed life in almost all the universe. So this, much like the Kelvin timeline, is separate from anything we know with DC. And if you know anything about DC Comics, they are all about having all these different realities. Oh, yeah. If you're at all familiar with, and again, if you follow the CWD shows, DC television shows at all, they have, even some of their regular shows exist in different dimensions, yet you can travel between them as freely as walking across the street. So you have a device. I mean, I was watching one of them recently where the Flash and his girlfriend were getting married, and Supergirl lives on a different Earth, and they were pals with Supergirl and her sister. So they left their Earth to go to that Earth to go to the wedding, and then they also stopped off and bought dresses or whatever. So they're just remarking like, oh, I want to, shopping is different here on Earth too. It's just like, it's so very casual. You know what I mean? So yeah. There's a myriad of different Earths. That's been a thing in DC Comics for many, many decades. But the concept of having separate timelines in Star Trek really only started with any kind of consistency in 2009 with this movie, and just like you and I were talking about, it's very controversial. Very controversial. Yeah. Oh, God, I mean, it's a deep divide. I mean, I told you how I feel. Kind of, what's the spawn of your vibe of not being so crazy about the Kelvin timeline? Where are you coming from?
I was super hyped up about the 2009 movie. Right. When it was being advertised, I thought, this could be great. We could, this is a new Star Trek. I haven't I was all in. I was all in. I went to that first movie, and I came out with kind of a puzzled expression on my face. Like, what did I just watch? And did I like it? So I had to go back and I had to watch it again. And I went back and watched it again, and I wasn't 100% sure about it still. Even at that point, I wasn't 100% sure about it, because I have very different reasons for not liking this movie.
I understand.
I don't like the plot devices that they use. I don't like that Kirk gets exiled to the same planet that older Spock is on. We'll get to this because
it's so
we're going to talk
convenient.
It is. It's like Independence Day convenient. Like everybody just happens to end up in Las Vegas. What? Or not Las Vegas? In the where was it? Area 51. But
well, and it's funny you say Las Vegas, but that's what happened in another disaster movie by Devlin Emmerich, which was 2012.
Right. Yes.
That's where they escaped LA. John Cusack is driving a limo and he escaped LA by driving under a falling underpass and an exploding gas truck. And they get to a plane where there happens to be a private jet plane.
Just perfect. It was like a perfect storm of
right.
like nonsense. Right. And so I thought, okay, well, maybe, okay, so they're just laying the groundwork. So then I went when the second one came out, I went and saw that one, and that is when the hate really, really started for me. And wow. I don't like.
No kidding.
I mean, look, The Wrath of Khan is without a doubt like my absolute favorite Star Trek movie. It
is flawless. It is
really, and. It introduced my favorite uniform. It's got stuff that makes you cry at the end. It's got hope at the end. It's got this great tie to the original series. It's got stuff that makes you go, what? Like, how do Chekhov and Khan know each other, right? If you're a fan, you watch those series.
Oh, there are theories. There are theories, but it's not important right now.
Right, not important right now. So anyway, And the whole time they were producing this movie, J.J. Abrams was literally lying to people. This isn't Khan. We're not doing Wrath of Khan. We're not remaking Wrath of Khan. It's not Khan.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as you sit your ass down in the theater, it's the Wrath of frickin' Khan. And I just wanted to leave. I really did.
You wanted to. My favorite expression about being super pissed. You wanted to punch a baby. You wanted to punch a baby, didn't you?
I would have given the chance. And then I mean, they had the audacity to flip flop the Kirk Spock death at the end, and I'm thinking to myself, they just met 1 movie ago. They don't have this bond. This doesn't make sense.
And they essentially can't stand each other. But I'll tell you what. Let me steer us back on track because trust me, I will do the Kelvin movies when we get to that point. In 2 episodes. That's going to be you and me, all three of us. We are just going to go ape shit on those movies. We don't need Todd. We don't need anybody. It's just you and me.
All right,
so anyway, let's steer it back to this one. So DC, all kinds of multiverses, not a big deal. Star Trek, one multiverse. It's 50-50 divided hate. So diving into this story, the Enterprise crew discovers the remains of a Gantlet and the power rings on a planet. Taking them back to the Enterprise, they activate the power rings and come under attack of a squad of Klingons, led by that universe's General Chang, which we're seeing him 30 years earlier than you would have seen him in the continuity in the comics. So
it doesn't make any sense to me why he's there.
I just you know what? Just cause. That's your answer. That's your answer to everything that happens in the Kelvin universe. It's just cause.
Take all the cool stuff, throw it in a blender, blend it up, and it doesn't matter where it ends up.
Right. Throw some cardboard in there, maybe some broken glass, your car keys. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The blue, indigo, and violet rings, and again, I dig on the Green Lantern because they have the 8 different rings. Each one represents a different kind of emotion. Yep. I think 4 are good and 4 are bad. One of them I think it might be 9 rings, and like one of them, the white one, is universal, like it encompasses all emotions. So I find that kind of cool, but we don't have a ton of time to delve into that. But anyway, blue, indigo, and violet rings find new owners among the Enterprise crew. Chekhov, McCoy, and Uhura, respectively. That gets kind of dicey, I think. The yellow ring finds its home with Chang, and yellow, as we're going to see, that's kind of the core villainy of the Green Lantern, which is Hal Jordan, who's the main dude, and the main yellow guy, the Yellow Lantern is Sinestro, which he does spoiler alert, he shows up a little bit later on, but. Much like kind of weird plot conveyances that exist within DC Universe, like the Martian Manhunter is powerless against fire, but the Green Lantern is powerless against anything colored yellow. What? So basically, if he was going to try to stop a runaway school bus full of nuns, they would be fucked.
He's screwed.
right into the river. There's no chance. There's no chance with that. So yeah, the yellow ring finds its home with Kang. The red and orange rings fly off into space, and they find owners with the praetor of the Romulan Senate. Again, we've not met Romulans at this point. We're not supposed to know who they are because so we're kind of screwing with that. And then the other one ends up on the finger of a member of the race of the Gorn hegemony, which is a race that still is unknown to the Federation at this point, because when Kirk fights the Gorn on Cestus 3, in the famous, paper mache rock fight in the episode Arena, season 1 of TOS, nobody knew who he was. It was total mystery. So we're just throwing spaghetti to the wall to see what sticks here, and it's a little nutty. So anyway,
off the rails.
I mentioned Hal Jordan. He shows up. He's trying to figure out why Ganthet's body is aboard Enterprise. Then Carol Ferris, who's Star Sapphire, shows up, and Saint Walker, who is another one of the core Lanterns. I believe he's the Indigo one. I could be wrong. I might be messing them up. As I mentioned, Sinestro shows up. Lyra Flees, who's another one of the bad one, and Atrocitus, who's the Red Lantern, the real. He's like a big dude, like Kilowog from the Green Lantern movie, who we'll talk about a little bit later on.
Right.
They show up. And basically it turns into duos. So, the red is the Gorn plus Atrocitus, Lyra Flees plus the Romulan guy, and then Sinestro plus General Chang. So obviously, things are going to get ugly. But we quickly are finding out that there are 3 other Green Lanterns around, and it's the core kind of trilogy of Green Lanterns that most people on a peripheral level know. You have John Stewart, who's the African-American one, who you saw in the Justice League cartoon in the early 2000s, so he's familiar. Guy Gardner, who's the dickhead Green Lantern, which ironically, because I dug the vest, I have a cosplay of that. So I like the outfit, but he's a real dickwad, so nobody really digs on him. And then Kilowog, who's basically the thing. He's a big dude. He's purplish, got a funky face. You saw him. He was represented in the 2011 movie by, was it Michael Duncan Clark who did the voice of that? I'm pretty sure. So anyway, yeah, they've survived the death of their universe. They're going to team up with our gang to, have as the Aussies would say, a bit of a bloody punch up, which is basically how things go down. So we get to the one point by, Necron reveals himself. And then his big play is he restores the dead planet Vulcan and brings back all of the populace as Black Lanterns, which is the death part. And by this point, Rich, I need to take a breath and let you start talking, because we are so backed up sideways. Oh boy, you please take over.
A couple things here. First of all, touching on a point that I found just atrocious in the 2009 movie, the fact that they blew up Vulcan. It's that bothered me to begin with. Now in this Kelvin timeline, they're going to resurrect the planet and make all of its denizens Black Lanterns. So they're fucking with Vulcan again, and Vulcans. I'm so over the Kelvin timeline. I hope that when there's that new Trek movie that they're talking about.
Yep.
I'm hoping that they will just put this away, put it on the shelf.
Let it go, baby. It was a trilogy. It ran its course.
If I may borrow a quote from another Star series,
Star something.
Let the past go. Kill it if you have to.
That little emo son of a bitch said it right. You sure got it.
He sure did.
You can Kylo Ren the shit out of that trademark. Ren the shit out of that. But
that's right.
I mean, we're building to a crescendo here. This is obviously, an issue 5 of a 6-issue series. So then we're getting into Ultimate Necron is defeated, shocking, by combining the ring energies, by the combined ring energies of obviously the Lanterns who were there, plus the Enterprise crew. Sinestro, Atrocitus, and Lyra Flees all escape. Of course, because like anything, there's got to be a sequel. You can't kill everybody.
Of course.
But then at the end of it, the Lanterns with Starfire, Saint Walker, either join the Enterprise crew or venture to the Earth of the Kelvin universe. And the end of this is particularly bothersome because our crew who became Lanterns on their own, so Chekhov and Uhura and Bones, give up their rings. But then one of the last couple panels, they said, and Scotty was able to figure out how to reverse engineer the rings.
Yeah.
So that phaser rings became a standard issue device throughout Starfleet. And I'm like, fuck it. No, that's just. And of course, I remember, you and I did on your show about the Family Guy Star Wars. I'm just reminded of Peter Griffin and the famous meme out there when he stands up and he goes, "Done." He walks out.
Yep.
And then again, like I said, I started reading the second part, and I'm like, so this is another multiverse of DC that seems perfectly plausible. But this is an alternate reality of an alternate reality because none of this shit applies to what we saw. Because I get the feeling when I started the second miniseries, that is set within the time frame of the third film, which there was a big gap between films 2 and 3. But in the second miniseries, they're wearing the different uniforms, which they have the kind of the V-neck, higher collar that's a little bit more TNG. So the Star Trek Beyond, which to me was the only redeemable film in that series, sort of.
Yeah.
But so this is like a sub basement of Star Trek universe, basically what we're saying. And I'm just like, I mean, knowing what I know about Star Trek, they've already taken. First of all, I've said it before. I'm not a TOS guy. I was raised on the TOS movies. I love the look of them. I love the aesthetic. I hate the look and I hate the aesthetic of the original series, even though they had some absolutely terrific episodes. Right. City on the Edge of Forever, Arena, Private Little War, The Omega Glory. Just some really, really great storytelling. And then we also had the Empath and Spock's Brain and Spectre of the Gun and some things that you just no. But
there's always going to be some chaff when you're talking about it, right?
Exactly. So, and the look of the original Enterprise itself to me is just dumb. The look of the movie era TOS Enterprise will always be my favorite design of any kind at any place. I adore. I would, if I could build that ship and live on it, I would do it tomorrow because I like it so much. But this is just, you've taken something that already kind of sucks and added another layer of sucky to it. So in the final analysis, this is like a sub D- to me of a story because it just again you factor in the fact that nothing that is not on screen. We talked about this at length all over the place. Nothing that's not on screen with Star Trek is canon. So it has this. You would simply then judge the story on the merits of it being a good story, apart from being something canonical. And my analysis of this is, it is not.
Oh no. See, I hate to. I don't want to crap on this any more than I have to. But honestly, there's one bright spot in this. Now, I am a TOS fan. I love TOS. That's what I grew up on. My godmother spoon-fed it to me when I was a kid. And so much so that when Next Generation came out, I was a little reticent to jump into that because I thought, well, nothing's ever going to be as good as the original.
Right.
That being said, at least they didn't put this in the main timeline.
Right.
Because it's so goofy. It's so out there and so strange that they're introducing. I mean, there are alternate timelines in Star Trek, but there's not like a multiverse, right? There's the Mirror Universe, there's the Kelvin Universe, and then there's the Prime Universe, right?
Yeah, absolutely correct.
Yeah. So,
well, I mean, there's always a handful of episodes that like the last episode of TNG. Q came along and he showed Picard how things would be if he didn't do XYZ, but at the end of it, he's resolved it.
Right.
So that's fine. And then there's, Worf flies into an anomaly and he finds himself trapped between realities, which was an episode in season 7, which was kind of ill-conceived because the prime driving aspect of it was his romance with Deanna Troi, which thank God that did not persist, but this was a way to kind of further that plot line through season 7. So yikes.
Well, and the other thing about this is, again, I don't have a tie to Green Lantern. In fact, it's not one of my favorites. I've read, like I said, about 6 issues besides these, so 12 issues of Green Lantern books altogether. And so not having a tie to Green Lantern and just hate crapping on the Kelvin universe or timeline, this is definitely not my cup of tea. This is definitely not something that I like. But that being said, I do appreciate the awesome names that the bad guys have in the Green Lantern, like Necron, right? And Sinestro.
Yeah,
and
that's what I dig. They're very alien, and that's what I really dig. Now, Marvel Comics, again, I'm primarily a Marvel guy. That's that's what I grew up on. Yep. I still read Marvel, but over the years I've dabbled in DC, and I've recently, committed to some reading projects. Like with Todd, we talked about an arc from the early 1970s of Green Lantern and Green Arrow called The Hard Traveling Heroes, about 12 issues of varying quality. If you listen to our show, which comes out tomorrow for you and me recording, but came out last Friday for those of you listening to this when it comes out on Monday. You can comprehend that time suck.
Oh, but there's a whole different timeline there.
There's a whole different timeline there. Yes, we're talking about the future. But, I'm trying to do more of the Green Lantern stuff. But again, I really appreciate how DC has that more science fiction-y arc to it, which is why I see Star Trek and Green Lantern as a good clip. And again, maybe down the road there's a Star Trek The Next Generation and Doctor Who. I kind of enjoyed that. Maybe that would be a better direction to go in than this. You know what I mean?
Possibly.
So we can look at that. But I've enjoyed that. I like the science fiction-y piece, but I just wonder if this could have been better served by keeping it, even with the actual TOS crew, if it would have been a better fit, or if it would have made any difference, or if it would have been any other crew from the Star Trek universe. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to do this, why not do the New Frontier series? Put them in with New Frontier, like Peter David's little side project.
I love the New Frontier.
Me too. That's so good. That's such good stuff. And
it's so totally dead. No, but the New Frontier, God, you and I should talk about that, because that is one that I read. That was the first series ever, first ever original series created in the novels.
Yeah.
It was the first thing that, and again, it was, much like anything you would expect, it was brought through a lot of familiar elements. Like Picard was a heavy guest character, and Spock was a guest character, and they brought back minor characters from the Next Generation and stuff like that. So we should totally do that after this. We should break down the one. There's only one comic ever published about that, and it is available from Comixology Unlimited. So
I already own it.
You know what? I'll tell you what. I'm an advocate of scrapping talking about the second volume of this and doing that. What do you think about that? Yeah, let's be bold. I'm changing the schedule. We're gonna do so next week. We're gonna have Paul on. We're gonna talk about Star Trek 6, and the week after that, New Frontier, the single thing that they published. That's what we're gonna talk about.
I'm all in.
All right. No, that's cool. So putting a wrap on it, 1 to 10, what do you give it? What do you give this?
God. Okay, so I'm going to give it. I'm sorry to the people that wrote this, because I'm sure I wrote and drew this because I know they put hours of their time into it, and they probably are very proud of this. But for me, as a Star Trek fan, as a non-Green Lantern fan, I'm going to give this a 2, and it only gets a 2 because of the cool names like Sinestro and Atrocitus and Larfleeze and stuff like that. So not even something that's Star Trek related.
Right, exactly. So yeah, they took the best elements of it and dubbed. I'm going to have to agree with you. I'm going to have to tie that with you.
Yeah.
Because while I do love the Green Lantern stuff, and it's great to see it in parlance, I hate the Kelvin stuff so much, and they molest it so much with this material that it just ends up being just absolute dudsville. So this is a 2. It's terrible. Thank God I read it as part of Comixology Unlimited, didn't purchase it. So, and we disliked it so much that we're not going to torture ourselves with reading the sequel. I'm going to stop reading. I read the first issue of the sequel. I'm like, I don't know that this is worse, but we're almost there. we're almost there to being bad. So yes, so we will be back next week to talk about Star Trek 6 with Paul from Great Disturbances, and the week after that, the New Frontier.
Nice.
I think it's called No Limits or something. I can picture the cover of it,
Something
but
like that.
it's a picture of Admiral Jellicoe getting the neck pinch from Saleda, who is the Vulcan Romulan crew member of the Excalibur. So I'm looking forward to that.
I'm looking forward to that.
I know, big time. All right, moving on. 2 news stories, and both are about one of our favorite actors from the Star Trek franchise. So, Rich, you go ahead and tell us about this first one.
Oh man, I love this. I love this so much. Okay, so LeVar Burton put a post out on Twitter. A week ago, maybe?
Yeah.
Maybe 2 weeks ago. I don't know. But they put a little chirp out there on Twitter that he would love to be the next host of Jeopardy. And fandom responded. I know I responded. I tweeted that thing out every damn day. Put LeVar on Jeopardy. Put LeVar on Jeopardy. Well, after 2 weeks of us hounding the Jeopardy people, they are going to have look, it worked for the Snyder people, right? It worked for the give us the Snyder Cut people. Give us LeVar Burton on Jeopardy. They're going to give us LeVar Burton on Jeopardy. He's going to get a guest spot on it. I don't know if they're doing this like they did with the Regis and Kathy Lee replacement. But if they are, I know in my heart of hearts that LeVar Burton is going to knock this out of the park. I love Jeopardy and I love LeVar Burton. And this is like peanut butter and jelly, or peanut butter and chocolate, if that's your thing.
Why not? I mean, the man is so electric. I told you a story when we were talking earlier this evening that Todd, who is our mutual friend, and he's how we met, and he lives out there in the Twin Cities. I live back here in Michigan. He and I went to college together, which is how we became friends. He went off into the Air Force, and eventually when he got out, he ended up in Minneapolis. And so because it's 11 hours away, the only real chance that we get to hang out is to have an activity or something to meet halfway. For us, it was Chicago, and for you, it was the Wizard World show, which was at the end of summer. And so the second year that we went in 2011, we would usually just do a 1 day, but I think we bought a 2-day pass for some reason. And I had the day off, he had the day off, so we both drove in and got there, mid-afternoon, and we said, well, we got passes, why don't we just go and we'll breeze the show as it's wrapping up or whatever. And so we get down there, we're walking around, it's very quiet, but the guests who are signing things are still hanging around because they have office hours, as it were, air quotes. And at one section, and like kind of tucked back, halfway down a row tucked back, it was Daniel Stewart, who is the son of Patrick Stewart, who guested on an episode of TNG that we just did a watch party for in our collective region, the Inner Light. He played the son of the character that Picard was playing.
Oh, I didn't get a chance to see that one.
No, I thought you were.
I wasn't there.
With that.
No, I wasn't in there with that one. I was at the one where Picard, the old man Picard.
It's the same one. That's the same one.
Is it? I thought I thought the Inner Light was the one with Deanna Troi and. No, oh God, okay, never mind. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
No, the one they did last week was called Phantasms. It was
Phantasms. Okay.
Absolutely terrible episode about Data's dreams, and that's all we need to say.
Nice.
But at any rate, sitting next to Daniel Stewart was LeVar Burton, and because there was nobody around, I just, I'm not shy. I just went up and talked to the man for a couple of minutes. Super kind and gracious guy.
Wow.
Talked for just a couple of minutes. So, I mean, I didn't get an autograph or anything because I'm not a big autograph guy.
Yeah.
But just really enjoyed talking to him. So gracious and down to earth, and everything that you want a celebrity to be, very accessible.
Nice.
Have a conversation with him. So yeah, I mean, I love seeing him put in any situation where he can shine.
Yeah, absolutely.
From Roots, which was his breakout, which is something that I was very moved by when I was in high school, both the book and obviously the telefilm, to Reading Rainbow, which he did forever and in conjunction with TNG. And then, of course, TNG, the subsequent movies. I mean, we've not seen him in the Geordi LaForge role since 2002, though it's being kind of snipped about that, as we'll talk about in our next story here, that could come back again. So absolutely fantastic news. Looks like his episodes will air in late July 26th to July 30. So as a big fan, as both we have to remind ourselves, so I'm sure social media will not let us down in helping us remember that it is on. So, but continuing our streak in our second and final story of this episode, LeVar Burton says Geordi LaForge in Star Trek Picard Season 2 is a maybe. Ooh. It's not a no, it's a maybe. No, he says, when asked if there could be a possible Geordi LaForge appearance in Season 2, Burton said maybe. I said, I think the time period of Picard is contemporaneous. Big word a lot of people use, but he's Geordi. He can get away with it. So
he's the Reading Rainbow guy.
He is. And, it was heavily featured in the Picard set novel, which again, not explicitly canon, but elements of it could be drawn into to be canon if the writers so choose of Picard. That the is Picard the one you haven't seen, or Lower Decks is the one you haven't seen?
Picard is the one I have not seen.
Okay, well, there was, and it was featured in Short Treks. There was, prior to the series, there was a massive attack on the Utopia Planitia shipyards on Mars. Well, the Utopia Planitia shipyards on Mars within this novel were run by Geordi LaForge. Oh. And he does survive the attack. It's made clear in the book. So we're at least hopefully meant to believe that that the character is still alive. So I will take a maybe. I mean, I know that that I've read things that say that the showrunners, the writers of Picard don't want to turn it into, a continuation of TNG by just having a huge parade of all of the existing cast members and characters and guest stars just be launched through there at the speed of light. So, but to do it in a way that makes sense for a story that really emphasizes good storytelling. So, but again, a great character, and to see him come back, to see all of them come back in time, I think would be magnificent. So I'm totally down, and I have my my ears on the pulse to make sure that this is that hopefully that this is something that goes down.
Yeah, agreed. I like I said, I've got to get caught up on season 1, but if they're bringing Geordi back, that'll be an awesome thing. He was one of my favorite characters on TNG.
Strongly motivated. All right. Yeah. Well, that actually brings us to the conclusion of our program. Rich, we laughed, we cried, we hurled at Green Lantern and the Kelvin universe. But why don't you go ahead and take us out of the show, please?
Absolutely. For more information about Starfleet International in Michigan and beyond, please visit the USS Grand Petoskey or the USS Nomad on Facebook. The Code 47 podcast is a part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network and is produced by Todd Oxtra.
Oh, yeah, my soul brother. So, friends, as always, thank you for joining us. We are, of course, part of the Secret Friends podcast network, as Rich has said. You're listening to the Code 47 podcast. We come out every Monday talking about Star Trek. Bi-weekly, Todd and our friend Mark Carabin, the Canardian, talk about video games on the co-op mode podcast. On the opposing Wednesday, Mark and myself team up to talk about Star Wars on the Holocron Chronicles. Sometimes Rich joins us as well. And then every Friday, 7 years running now, you will hear Secret Friends Unite podcast, Todd and myself, your guide to the geek side, your a la carte to geek and popular culture all the way around the horn. So you can 5-star and review us, hopefully, on the podcasting hosting service of your choice. You can also find us over on YouTube. Todd does mirror our shows over there. And most easily, as a way to reach us, you can find us on our very vibrant Facebook community, which is geared towards geek discussion, and hit us up over on Twitter at Secret Friends U, that is the letter U. Drop us a line, let us know something that you're enjoying, whatever the topic is, a question that you have, an idea for the show. We are all about it, and we will talk about that on the program. So one more time, everyone, thank you for joining us. I'm going to tell you, as always, that sharing is caring, and to keep on trekking.
And don't forget, friends don't let friends watch the Kelvin timeline.